Please give it up for Mr. Henry Rollins, everybody.
Like a lot of you, you live in Southern California in Los Angeles, as do I. And many, many years ago, I arrived here in 1981 in the summer. And right around that time, I found out about a band called Black Flag from Los Angeles. And they were as angry and as crazy as I was. I'd hear their music, and finally, that's what I'm talking about. And they came out to the East Coast, and they saw me, and they said, "You're pretty crazy." And I said, "You have no idea." Because I'm very polite, and that throws people off, but I'm also capably violent. And so when you do it with a smile, someone almost thanks you. And so they said, "Hey, you want to audition to be the singer in this band?" I was like, "Yeah, yes." Everything said, my DNA screamed yes. And I am now running with a group of men who are older than I am by about 5 or 6 years. And so there was one particular guy in the band who I was in awe of immediately. I am in awe of him to this day. He was an intellectual terrorist. He's the first truly cerebral person I ever met in my life. He was not a tough guy. He does not fight. He doesn't do any of that. It's his mind that terrifies you. And so one day we're at SST Records and he said, "You know, you should do LSD." I'm like, and I am not a drug type. And so I said, "Well, golly, why should I take LSD?" "'Cause you're a real asshole." Well, by golly, I better get some drugs. And so there's one utterly psychotic woman I knew who did drugs. And I called her, "Excuse me, this is Henry Rollins from Black Flag, and I need to acquire some LSD. And I don't have any money, really, so I can only afford a couple of ounces." So she said, "Oh, I've got LSD. I've got LSD I bought from a leper in Studio City. It's some great shit." "Well, fantastic. I need to buy whatever it comes in." She goes, "Oh, no charge. I'll bring it over right now. But the only rule is I get to watch." And I said, "Well, fantastic. It'll be a date." And so the car pulls up. She had like a gremlin or something. Something just says like, "I'm crazy. This is my car." And she pulls out a small plastic bag with small squares of paper. She said, "Here's a tab of acid." "Well, fantastic. What do I do with it?" She says, "Put it on your tongue and let it melt." And so after a minute, it goes away. So we wait like 20 minutes, and I'm waiting to be on acid. And she says, "Well, how do you feel?" I'm like, "I'm fine, thank you. How are you?" And she said, No, do you feel high?" I'm like, "I'm unable to answer that question because I really don't understand what I'm supposed to be feeling." She goes, "Okay, take another." I'm like, "Well, fine." I took another one. I know how to let it melt. And it melts. And so she said, And we've been sitting there for like, 30 minutes or so. I said, "I don't know, feeling okay. Am I high on acid now? Because I think I'm still an asshole. So I don't know." And she said, "Well, take a third one." And meanwhile, just so you, in all transparency, she's taking them with me. So we are going 1 for 1, 2 for 2, 3 for 3. And so now we've waited a long time. She said, "Does anything seem strange?" I'm like, "Nope, just spending the afternoon here with you, eating bits of paper. Are you sure this is good stuff?" Trying to speak in her patois. And she goes, No, I've used this stuff before. I saw through walls and Jesus touched me. And so she was like, "Let's do another." Fantastic. And I figure I'm so young and intense, the acid can't get to me. That's why I'm acid proof. And so we both have 4 hits of acid circulating through our system. And she said, "Okay, I'm bored, let's go." So we get in her car, and I look out the window of her car, and there's a motorcycle parked right next to me at the red light, but its wheels are still spinning. I'm like, "Wow." I said, "The wheels of that motorcycle are still spinning." She's like, "Oh, here we go." Acid 101. Look at your hand. Wow. I could do this for the rest of my life. She says, "Oh, you're high." And then she says, "Let's go to the beach because you'll like seeing water." I'm like, "I'll talk to the water." And we're driving, and now everything is happening. You're living next to your own mind. It's incredible. I mean, it's really a different experience for a guy who's never done anything more than 3 or 4 Michelobes and promptly vomited. And so she starts driving really fast. I go like, why are you driving so fast? There's all these people up there crossing the street. She goes like, you pussies in Black Flag always talk about the end of the world and destruction. The destruction starts now. We're gonna kill all these people. And the whole time, I'm having a hallucination about being in a car with a crazy woman who's trying to really, really kill people. And I'm like, please don't kill these people. And she slows down and looks at me like, God, you're so lightweight. Like, all right, for you, I won't kill everyone I can. And so I'm like, okay, so how about we just drive? I'm trying to be sane, now rocketing on 4 hits of acid. And so we now are driving up in the canyon somewhere, and it's very, very nice, and we're driving up and up and up, and then we start driving down, and the speed goes faster and faster. I go like, shouldn't you be driving a little slower? She goes, no, it's just like a video game. I'm like, whoa, this is really dangerous. She looks at me, she said, tell me right now why I should not drive this car off a cliff and kill us both. And I'm going through my LSD poisoned mind, trying to come up with a sane reason for her not to send the car flying Thelma and Louise-esque off some cliff. And finally I come up with it. I have to finish the vocals on the next Black Flag album, and if I don't finish it, the rest of the band will be really mad. She goes, yeah, I like those songs. Okay. You can live. And then we go back to her home. She lives with her parents. And so we walk into her house, and they're her 2 incredibly straight parents. Is this your friend? Like, And so she puts me in her room and closes the door. She says, sit against the door. I'm like, okay. Am I sitting against the door? And I said, why am I sitting against the door? She said, to block it if my parents come in, I'm going to shoot some heroin to take the edge off. You're going to do what? So she ties off because he wants, I'm like, no, I don't want any heroin. And I did something I've never done ever since. I opened up the window of her room and just jumped out. Not even thinking. Like, what's below? Thankfully, ground floor. I went, the ground was right there. I mean, the window's here. But I kind of went, like, because I don't want to be in a room with heroin, because I'm too high on acid to deal with it. And the most amazing part of this incredible day was I got from somewhere in Santa Monica near UCLA all the way back to Redondo Beach with no memory whatsoever how I got back there. And I come staggering into SST like, I don't know, like 12 hours later. I come in, I'm like, and there's the guy in the band. Hey, how was it? It was incredible. But I think I'm still an asshole. Thanks.